Al Davis said it best. Just win, baby.
You are Locked On Georgia Tech, your daily podcast on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another episode of Locked On Georgia Tech. I'm one of your hosts, Caleb Johnson. I was not smart enough to get into Georgia Tech, but I am smart enough to talk about Georgia Tech sports. Another guy who is also very much worthy of talking Georgia Tech sports is my co-host, Jarvis Davis. He's been covering Atlanta sports for the last 15 years. I want to start off by saying thank you for making Locked On Georgia Tech your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We're free and available wherever you listen and wherever you download those podcasts. Please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Anything less than I wish you having to watch Georgia Tech versus Boston College again and again and again and again for the rest of your life. No, you don't want to do that either. Yeah, trust me. You really don't. Just go leave us that 5-star review. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today on the show, we're going to get into where did Georgia Tech end up in the latest AP poll? Did the Yellow Jackets red zone offense get worse? But first, Jarvis, is a win all that matters? Because Georgia Tech went up north to take on the Boston College Eagles and come out of this thing in a very, very, very ugly 36-34 win. And it obviously left a lot of us scratching our heads trying to figure out, and you've obviously talked a little bit about it already, just what happened, man.
Yeah, man. Like, to answer the question, in-house, yes, a win is a win is a win for sure. In-house. But it's just too many out factors on the outside, right? Outside the house that matter when it comes to wanting to play football late in November. And Brent Key has said that he wants to play meaningful football in late November. So, if you want to play meaningful football in late November, it has to be a little bit more than just getting a win. It has to be how it looks. Maybe the dog and pony show, because Miami certainly was playing like they were trying to put on a dog and pony show to the college football playoff committee. We'll see where they land on tomorrow. So tomorrow night. But when you think about Georgia Tech, though, like, you have to fix the issues because you've named them. The red zone, that's one thing we'll talk about a little bit later on, but just overall, like, your defensive issues, and we're going to take a whole episode to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about them tomorrow. We're going to go into depth about them and what they need to do going forward. But as a team and as a whole and as a head coach of this team and the leader of this team, it has to be, we have to win looking our best. And how we look our best is by fixing the issues that we know are issues. Coming into this game against Boston College, Brent Key was all about the red zone. We need more 7s than 3s. There were a couple times where they got 3s, instead of 7s for whatever reason. So I think that in-house, win is a win. Nobody's going to be looking back, oh, man, they barely beat Boston College if you win the ACC championship. Nobody's going to be thinking about that. However, the college football playoff committee will be thinking about that Boston College barely winning against Boston College, barely winning against Wake Forest. So, those are some of the type of things that I feel like going forward, you don't have to preach that to your team, but you need to operate as a leader of this team and say, hey, here's the things that we have to get fixed. Like, we might not be able to beat Pitt if we played the way we played on the road up there in Chestnut Hill.
Oh, I know for absolute certain, Jarvis, that if Georgia Tech plays the way they did against Boston College, there's absolutely no way that they're winning that football game because, Pitt's defense might stink, but that offense they can, they can get some points when they need
Mhm.
to.
Yeah,
I think the problem that I have is coming out of this game. Yes, a win is technically all that matters
sure.
because for Georgia Tech right now, all that matters and all that's going to get them into the college football playoff. The only route, Jarvis, to the college football playoffs for Georgia Tech is winning the ACC at this point.
Sure. Mhm.
Because the streak of perfection of the style points that you would have needed to beat NC State, the style points that you would have needed to have shown against Boston College did not happen. And I'm looking at this from the perspective of Jarvis. If you just look at some other games that Boston College played this season,
Mhm.
it's part of what left me so stunned when this third quarter, Georgia Tech is down 11 points to start the fourth. It's 28-17 to start the fourth quarter. And I was thinking to myself, Jarvis, this is the same team that played SMU a couple, like what was a week ago
Mhm.
and lost 45-13. This is the same Boston College team that lost to Clemson 41-10. It's the same Boston College team that lost to Pitt 48-7. Like this
Mhm.
is not a good football team. And those games, at least I believe two of them, or no, yeah, all of those games. Dylan Lonergan was your starting quarterback for the Boston College Eagles,
Mhm.
and then Georgia Tech has that man out here looking like he's trying to win a Heisman himself instead of the guy playing for the Yellow Jack.
And that's the crazy thing about football, man. It is there are certain things that can be motivating factors. One, it was senior night. This was
Yeah,
the last senior. This was the last game for all the seniors at Boston College, and man, I know Bill O'Brien wanted to get those get those guys a win to go out on top in their minds, right? At least for one night, you could knock out, an ACC opponent from contending for an ACC title. We might not be playing for ACC title, but we can knock these guys off.
yeah,
And those guys came ready to play. Yeah, those guys came out to play. And when you think about the game plan that Bill O'Brien had, they ran a lot of double tight end sets. So hey man, they're gonna sit there and run that ball down your throat. And then they found out that hey, it's sweet in the passing game too. We're gonna slang this ball all around the yard. Isaiah Bonds and all those guys, man. And it was just almost as if they were they could do whatever they want. They had a
yeah,
two-way go all night for the most part. Now Georgia Tech did some good things in the fourth quarter defensively, but just throughout the entire game, it was just at a point where it was just like, man, what can you do? Or hey, we have to be perfect on offense because our defense is playing horribly. And I think that when you kind of bring it all back to the original question, when you say is a win all that matters, yes, in-house, it matters. But when you from an outside perspective and needing the affirmation from the college football playoff committee, you need to be affirmed by them. It has to look good. You have to up your play. You have to fix your issues. You know the issues. You just got to get them fixed. And you didn't get them fixed. Your offense, you got to give a lot of credit to, Haynes King
yeah.
specifically, because Buster Fulton on that last drive was just like, hey, man, we,
Go win the game.
win the game for us, please, sir, so we can get the heck up out of here with a dub. So, yeah, I think that, you know, yeah, a win is a win is a win. And I think that, Brent Key said as much after the game in the post game presser. But when it comes down to this last home game, it's gonna be senior night for you all. It's gonna be senior night for Georgia Tech. Yeah, I need to see some of that same motivation that Boston College had for theirs.
Yeah. I think a big thing in this game that was good to see, but also still one that in the back of my mind I was going, if not for these plays, you're not winning the football game was the explosive plays. It
Mm-hmm.
was, the home run shots. And, I think just for starters, beginning this game with what I think is their second possession is when, you got the big run from Malachi Holsley, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, here we go. This thing is
It
starting
almost
to,
made me feel like Buster Faulkner listens to the show.
right.
I know it's pretty quick. It's 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
Hey, we still trying to grow this thing. By the way, if you haven't liked to subscribe to this, like, what the hell are you waiting on? Like, I
Go
don't
right
understand.
now.
Like, get your life. I need you to get your life. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, man, yes, give this man the rock. And then you put Mr. Maddox in, and he fumbles the ball, and they made me cuss. I was like,
Oh yeah.
I'm 2 weeks in. I shouldn't be cussing 2 weeks in. We just started the show. I should not be cussing at the TV screen right now. So it's just little things like that, man, that you have to kind of make sure you fine tune and get right and understand who your playmakers are, because Buster sure understood the assignment in the fourth quarter when saying, hey man, I'm about to put the ball in the Kane. Kane gonna get the rock for the rest of the way.
Yeah. Jarvis, I still need to better understand why a freshman was touching the football before Jamal Haynes touched the football, and got the opportunity to fumble the football. Like, that one still leaves me quite confused.
Sure.
But to give some credit to some positives, as on the injury front, getting guys healthy, and obviously, like you mentioned, we'll talk about defense coming up in our next episode. But having Malik Rutherford out there showed
Yes, man.
that was a big
Yeah.
difference. That was like, boom,
Yeah.
okay,
It's
here we
huge.
go. This is what this can
Huge.
look like.
Yes. That's what
Yeah,
it's supposed to look like. It's one of those things where you get to a place where you get the guys back, and then you got Eric Rivers looking like a number one guy. He was your number one guy from a yardage standpoint. For him having that type of game that he has, and then you get multiple guys that are weapons for you. Jordan Allen, throw him in the equation
yeah,
as well.
your favorite.
It's with the 54-yard run, man. It's freshman, 18, fresh out of high school, dog. Like, that is amazing to watch. But this offense is too talented to struggle, to wait until the fourth quarter to get things going, like, or figuring out what's working for you on a consistent basis. So yeah, man, this was a tune-up game, but it took too long to get to the tune-up, or to start exercising the tunes.
Yeah,
If you feel what I'm saying.
yeah. It's like they took the Ramblin' Wreck to the wrong body shop. Like the wrong mechanic. It was a little concern in there before they
Yes.
got things turned around. But you mentioned this offense and needing to get some things fixed. We got to talk about, Jarvis, the fact that did the red zone offense, did those issues that we talked about literally last week get worse? The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, and man, when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks lately, the hot hand has been guys like V. Cresci, guys like Jalen Johnson, and Yeko Okongwu. I mean, so many guys for this Atlanta Hawks team have been on an insanely hot streak as they went out on the West Coast and kept winning the whole way. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And so when you're watching your Hawks, maybe you want to choose FanDuel to get in on the action. You can combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Georgia Tech your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Something that we talked about last week was the red zone struggles, and I feel like I need to put it in air quotes, Jarvis, just for the simple fact of like they're scoring in the red zone. It is not a matter of putting up points, but it is a issue of trading touchdowns for field goals, which is happening too often now, and literally was at the point of you got 3 field goals and 1 touchdown as you went 4 for 4 in the red zone against the Eagles, who was historically this season a terrible red zone defense.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, when you have a good kicking game, and shout out to Georgia Tech, they have a really good kicking game. Aiden Bird, he's come through for this team throughout this year.
His social media feed is Bursky. He's feeling himself a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. That's a strong. Right. Strong. That's pretty strong there. Yes.
It's like wide receiver type energy that he's given.
Yeah. He got a little something to him. He got a little something to him. Yeah, but as far as the whole the field goal versus touchdown piece, it's good to put up points regardless, right? Like, it's good to have that to fall back on. But I think when you're in a situation where you have to look at how your team is built. This team is built for this offense to carry them. They have a Heisman candidate type player at the quarterback spot. They have big issues with turning people over. They have big issues with putting pressure on the quarterback. So that means the opposing quarterback is more than likely going to have a good day. And that means that as an offense, you have to have a perfect day. I know that's a lot of pressure. I know there's high expectations, but that's just the game. That's what it is. And that's what you have to do to win football games against good football teams. You can get away with this type of stuff with bad football teams, but when you talk about going up against having a play-in game against Pitt, that game against Notre Dame, I watched that game from 15 minutes left in the first quarter to 0 seconds left on the clock, leading into the Georgia Tech Boston College game. That game was closer than a lot of people thought. Because when you talk about, they had the freshman quarterback, they started putting the high school, I can't think his name. Remember a starting for a quarterback for Pitt. Like, they started putting pressure on him. You could tell he was shook. He threw the pick 6, and things started to get out of hand. But Pitt's defense was playing Notre Dame really tough, and that is a talented football group. Let me tell you something. And those guys, Pitt plays a lot of man coverage. They got some playmakers on defense. So playing the way you did against Boston College, go back to what we talked about earlier, is a win and all that matters. Yeah. Partially, yeah, you got the dub. But when you think about what's coming up next, the thing that's going to get you into the playoffs, the play in the late November, like Coach Key wants to be able to do, you have to do what you say you're going to do. You want to turn those 3s into 7s? Well, turn those 3s into 7s, because you can't afford to be kicking these 3s against Pitt, because that young man, if he has time, he gonna find an open man. He gonna find an open man, and people don't have issues finding an open man against you. So that means you got to pick up the slack offensively. It's 3 phases of the game: special teams, offense, defense. If you win 2 out of 3, more than likely you're gonna win. This game right here coming up against Pitt, it's going to be special teams and offense. and you better win those 2. Or you're going to be looking at the alternative, which is not playing the ACC championship and not playing in late November.
Yeah, I think, against Boston College, it was like seeing these long drives getting put together, and it wasn't some of the stuff that it's been earlier in the year where you get, dumb penalties, or maybe you fumble the football, or just it felt like it was little things here or there that stalled out drives of incompletions, not getting um a good push on the line, and so runs weren't going anywhere. A lot of like little weird things. I also think, Jarvis, just from the perspective of, I think Tech got lucky that they got 5 offensive possessions in the second half, because if you're literally one fewer offensive possession in this game because you were, I think it was 3 of their 5 second half offensive drives turned into field goals. Um, like we're talking about a very different scenario in this first podcast of the week, and I feel like this thing, if that had gone towards a loss, there's a whole lot of doom and gloom around this program. There's a lot of disrespectful conversation that would be had about them right now. Thankfully they figured it out. It's just um it's really hard to put my finger on one specific thing for this offense of like what it's been in the red zone. The thing that I do know is, and this is the
Well,
real
you had
head
that
scratch.
one. I mean, because you are. Well, you had that one instant where Jamal Haynes dropped that ball in the third. It was in the third quarter.
Yeah,
Like that can't happen.
yeah,
He probably would have walked into the end zone,
that's true.
if he would
Yeah,
have caught the football. And you have to settle for a field goal. It's just little things like that. Like when Buster dialed it up, I don't know. I can't remember if it was that play or another play where they show his reaction to the drop, and he was just like, like,
yeah,
no, man, you have to make those plays. Jamal Haynes, you're one of the top rushers. I think he's a top 10 rusher. I think he's like 180 some yards from surpassing Joe Burns on the all-time rushing leaders list at Georgia Tech. And Joe Burns, one of the best doggone running backs that ever step on campus.
yeah,
So, for those reasons, you can't. No, that's unacceptable for you to drop the ball. It's just unacceptable. So it's just little things, like you said, whether it's a guy missing a block here or one of your veteran guys just flat out dropping the football.
yeah.
Like you have to capitalize on that thing, especially when you talk about putting your foot on the neck of an opponent that's inferior to you. So, I don't feel like Pitt is inferior to Tech. So that means you gotta be more perfect. So catch the ball. Like you have to do that. You have to do that.
Yeah, execution, quite literally, to your point, has got to be perfect. And it was wild to me seeing, like, we had literally talked about this Boston College team 110th nationally in their red zone defense, but they
Mhm.
kept bowing up and sending Aiden Burr out there because um, the Eagles were getting stops, and that is something that absolutely cannot happen against Pitt. All right, Jarvis. One final thing for us to get into in the show. Let's get angry because, well, where did Georgia Tech end up in the latest AP poll? College football is back, and I could be more excited. Whether it's the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, and man, the energy in the stands, it's going to be wild on Saturday, Bobby Dodd Stadium, especially getting a night game against Pitt. There's nothing like it, but let's be real. Actually, getting tickets to games can feel more of a battle than the actual game itself. You've got endless queues, hidden fees, price jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you'll buy tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Okay, Jarvis. I mean, if we're honest, outside of the disaster of just barely beating Boston College, Saturday did not go particularly well for Georgia Tech.
Mhm.
Teams that they would have loved to have helped them out did not help them out. And an opponent that they struggled against and ultimately lost to, NC State, got boat raced by the Miami Hurricanes, a team that we were just talking about, feel like undeservedly got to jump the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in the college football rankings. And now we see the AP poll. Georgia Tech drops from 14 to 15. And guess who passes them?
Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Those Hurricanes up to 14.
Yeah, man. That's the thing about this. It's so funny. It doesn't help that Notre Dame kicked the crap out of Pitt,
Yeah.
who you played this week. So I thought that was very interesting. But I mean, Miami is. I kind of get why they have them in front of them, even though they have 2 losses. Still kind of the math thing, mathing with that one, still. But the one that really is stuck in my craw is the fact that Utah is at 13.
Yeah.
Why is Utah at 13? I'm trying to figure out. I was looking at the schedule, who they played. They had a close loss to BYU, and they got boat raced by Texas Tech. So I'm assuming they're getting. So a good loss is better than your best win, because their best win is against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Cincinnati just lost to an unranked Arizona this weekend.
That's
So I'm trying to figure out why. Is it
that's
Cal
the
Poly? Am I missing something? Is Cal
yeah.
Poly, this big time powerhouse? Why are they getting the benefit of the doubt? Because you make the argument that, oh man, the ACC is weak overall, blah blah blah, that stuff. Yeah, okay, but how about the team that should be predicted to win the ACC? The Miami is predicted to win the ACC for whatever reason. Maybe they know something that we don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
Have you seen what it's going to take for Miami to get in the ACC championship game? It's like
Oh,
it's
look,
like
it's a
7 steps.
freshman math class at Georgia Tech. That's what that
There
what
we
it
go.
is. That's exactly what it is. Like, no, something that I know I probably went past. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's too much. It's too
Yeah.
much. If I can
I'll
sound like
raise
I'm
my
from
hand. I
Baltimore, you know
wouldn't
what I'm saying?
either.
It's too much. So I just don't understand the logic, man. Like, you can make a case for the Miami piece. I get it. Notre Dame is looking stronger than ever. They're coming on. They lost their first 2 games against Texas A&M. They're number 3 team in the country, even though they probably should have lost this weekend. And then you lose to Miami, who at the time was looking like world beaters, and then they had a little slip up midway through the season. But yeah, man, you're not gonna sell me on Utah, dog. Like,
No. I mean,
Wyoming, Colorado. When we
yeah.
talk Big 12 is big time now. I don't know. Help me out, Caleb. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is they jumped up 2 spots after beating Baylor, and it's like, okay, so what you're telling me is you voters value the Big 12 over the ACC. Like that's plain and simple. That's all it can be for you to put them in that sort of a
Why though?
position.
Why? Why?
I don't know whether it's history or just, I mean, it's literally it's a lack of respect for the ACC. And like I get it. Like there are some bad teams in this conference. Like they can't be
The bad teams in
denied.
every conference.
Correct. Yeah.
Arizona is one of them.
Very, very true.
Utah's best win. They're one of them. That's the only ranked opponent that they beat. Cincinnati,
Well,
who
that's
just lost
the
to
thing
Arizona.
is like I think like Utah had what was viewed as good wins at the time, and then we got more information because more games were played. Same with, and I think like this is what's hurt Georgia Tech, is just because their schedule hasn't come out to look great because they had Clemson. It was like Clemson was supposed to be the game
It's supposed to be a game, yeah.
that was going to be the, oh, look, we beat these guys. And
Mhm.
then they've gone on to, they barely beat Louisville.
Poop the bed. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's tough because my biggest frustration was what happened with that Miami NC State game, because I was like, oh, here we go. Like I know what's about to happen here.
Yeah, they were, that was a dog and pony show. They were landing on thick.
Yeah.
Let's
I
say
mean,
that.
well,
I know
they
Donald was
held,
happy.
yeah, holding the Wolfpack offense with CJ Bailey to less than 150 yards total, and 7 points is, I mean, clap it up. Like that's,
Yeah.
that's impressive for those guys. It's
Ruben
just
Bain is a whole monster. I would love to see him on the next level. Can't wait to see him on the next level.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I get it.
Well,
Yeah, I get
and
it.
you know
Yeah.
what's funny, bro? He might be Miami's next quarterback. If we're,
I've been hearing some of those things.
you
Just some rumblings.
like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if that
Can Ruben
game,
Bain put on the gold and white tech gold? Can you just forego the league for 1 year? I was.
yeah,
Can we cover Ruben Bain? Ruben, I don't know if you listen to watch this show. We just started out, so you know what I'm saying. Bear with us. But if you want to come put on this white and gold, man, hey. I love to watch some edge rushers come off that rock. Because that man is a whole beast. Yes. So
yeah.
have to
So
end my defensive line love
oh
for
no,
the show.
you can
Sorry.
go right ahead. I think it's just tough because the things that needed to happen this weekend was Georgia Tech dominate Boston College, for Miami to play a close game and maybe lose to an NC State, for
Yeah.
Pitt to beat Notre Dame, and none of those things happened. And so
Right.
you know what's about to happen with the committee. It doesn't matter because ultimately you went out, you take care of it. You get your spot in the college football playoff. But man, it was just watching that Saturday of how everything kind of unfolded. It was like, this is less than ideal. And I hope if the NC State loss wasn't the wake up call that we thought it was going to be, I hope this close win over Boston College is enough to take Pitt seriously. And maybe it's Jarvis, like I cover the Hawks, and sometimes they're bad about playing down to competition and
Sure.
playing up to the really good teams, or the teams that they view as really good. So maybe it's just a matter of, for these next 2 weeks, what'll be, I guess, 3 weeks, if you make it into the ACC championship and then continue to play, is play up to a Pitt, play up to a Georgia, and then we don't have to have all these conversations. But we certainly are got to spend some time later in this week, and we'll do it on our next episode, talking about that defense, because that could be the thing that holds this team back from making those dreams a reality. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On Georgia Tech. Tomorrow, we're going to get into the defensive side of the ball against Boston College, and then look ahead to the things, that'll be coming up with Pitt. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube to Locked On Georgia Tech. Follow the show on social media. Follow Jarvis at JarvisD90. I'm at ATL Johnson 18. Thanks for making Locked On Georgia Tech your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On ACC. Kenton Gibbs and Alex Downa break down the most interesting conference in college sports, even if the committee doesn't think so. From the rivalries to the championship and every game in between, find Locked On ACC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. For Locked On Georgia Tech, y'all have a good one.